Hello, my name is Alun. My pronouns are he, him. And tonight I'm running the first of a two-shot of a version of my own game, Alien Dark, free for itch. Um, Tweaked a little bit from the original, which is now nearly 4 years old, to create a slightly more polished game, I hope, because I've imported some of the mechanics from another game of mine called Against the Dark Conspiracy, which you can also find on itch, or drive through for that matter if you want a print copy. Um, this is a game, you will guess, given it's called Alien Dark, set in the Alien universe. Um, it's inspired by Cthulhu Dark by Graham Walmsley and the Alien RPG from Free League, as well as some bits and pieces from Mark Diaz Truman's Cartel, from the Quick Start, actually, if I think about when this was written. Um, it's it's late in a retro future 22nd century. Uh, Greedy corporations are out there on the frontier of human expansion into the universe, trying to make a profit. And colonists and the working Joe, the working person, is is just a means to that end. The new world out there on the frontier is a gamble for people. It's a threat. And there are rumors of something out there that's strange and deadly, something alien, but it really is just rumor. The aim of this particular two-shot is to play on a planet called Fiorina 161, known to some as Fury. The characters are members of the seven-person crew, or technically six-person crew, and a passenger of the USCSS Lake, a Bison-class starship contracted by Eigen Disposals Incorporated, EDI. The contract is to undertake a survey of the mothballed mineral ore refinery facility on Fiorina. Weyland-Yutani are selling the site, and EDI are handling the sale on their behalf. EDI needs to know that what Weyland-Yutani say in the paperwork is true on the ground. So the crew of the lake are contracted to confirm that the site conforms to the specifications provided by the company. Now, this game, in terms of the Alien universe, is timed to take place about 2 years after the escape pod from the USS Sulaco crash landed on Fiorina 161 and the events of Alien 3. Not that the characters know anything about those events, which were covered up by the company. In terms of tone, this session and this game is intended to recreate the atmosphere of the Alien movies. We have everything the franchise has brought to popular culture, and the game is intended to be rich in tension, darkness, and foreboding, and conceivably gore and exploding chests. It may also involve characters making hard decisions about the fate of other characters. The fate of the characters is, frankly, pretty bleak. Stress is something that happens to people, and when they get too much of it, they simply break, and then they create another character. But even the mechanisms that the game has for releasing some of that stress can bring some pain towards other player characters or non-player characters for that matter. In terms of subject matter, unsurprisingly, a content warning. This is a game in which gore and body horror is likely, though of course it will depend which way the players lean. But, you know, this is a universe where people serve as hosts for xenomorphs and are viewed as expendable by the corporations that compete to exploit the frontier. In terms of safety tools to help make sure that we stay on the right side of fun, we'll be using lines and veils, and I'll direct the players now to the safety and links tab, which has my starting. I think some people have added some other lines and veils. There's also an ask first and an interested in. I've marked some of the ones as interested already because it's difficult to play this game in this universe without some of those marks, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We're also playing with the X card, and because I've not played with all these players before, I'll just stress that, you know, either put X card in the Zoom chat, or frankly, because I will spend most of my time looking at you, display the X. That's the way to get my attention. If somebody else notices X card in the chat and I haven't, please draw my attention to it. And let me stress, the X card is there because we can't predict in advance what someone might find uncomfortable. Now, certain stuff, people who've signed up for the game know they're getting into an alien game, so I'm assuming certain stuff is okay, but stuff can crop up unsurprisingly. I have had people use the X card when I've named an NPC after their brother-in-law, and then that NPC started doing some bad things, and that made them feel uncomfortable. So it needn't be a big thing. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, X card. If it feels like someone is sailing too close to our lines and veils, X card just to check in. And if the first time something comes up, it seems fine, that doesn't mean that the next time it turns up and it feels less fine, you shouldn't play the X card, right? Just because you didn't play it the first time doesn't mean you can't play it later on. And then what I'll do is I won't ask you why that's a concern. I might ask you how far back you want me to kind of roll in the fiction so I can play forward around the bit that made you feel uncomfortable. Um, we're also playing with an open door. I hope, that nothing happens behind us, back there in the real world. But if something does, you need to leave the screen, you need to leave the game for a short time or a long time. That's fine, folks. The open door is there to be used by any of us. And that includes if this turns out to be not as much fun as you'd hoped. God forbid you feel tied to this table for the next 2 hours, 3 hours nearly, just for that. And I'll be using stars and wishes as a debrief tool at the end, time permitting. We're also playing within the Open Hearth Community's Code of Conduct because this game, like all my games online, has been organized as part of the Open Hearth Gaming Community's online calendar. If you don't know about the Open Hearth, please Google, search Open Hearth, find out about us, come play with us, because I think we've got a pretty fantastic table culture. So that's my kind of opening spiel done, I think. Let me now ask the players just to say hello and tell us about their pronouns. And just for this point, tell me the name of your character, then we'll work through those characters in a bit more order. So in the order I can see you on the character keeper, Brandon, say hello, tell us about pronouns and introduce us to your character and their role on the ship. Let's go that far.
Yeah. My name's Brandon and my character goes by Thorn. And she doesn't care very much. Presumably she has another name in there somewhere, but she has gone by Thorn all the time she's been on the frontier, and nobody really calls her anything else. She's an ex-Marine, and has joined onto the lake as the XO. She has extensive facial scars from what probably another Marine could tell is a grenade blast that she caught some of in the face. And she's still relatively young. She joined very young and mustered out young. Is tough and has this biting and sardonic sense of humor.
Okay, that will do us for a kickoff. Let's move along. Puckett, say hello, tell me about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character.
Hey there, my name's Puckett. I use he, him pronouns, and I'll be playing Yasmin Stahl. I'm not going to bother with the German pronunciation of that word. Just Stahl is fine. She uses she, her pronouns, and she is the ship's engineering technician.
Great, thank you. And then, Casey, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character. Who are you?
Hey, yep, sorry. I'm Casey. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be playing Frank today, also using he, him pronouns. And Frank is the navigator of the ship.
Great, thank you. Now, we already know, Brandon, that Thorn was a colonial Marine. Puckett, tell me something about Yasmin's background.
Yasmin doesn't talk much about her background because most of it is involved with criminal activities, but she learned how to fix things along the way somehow, probably, fixing up stolen vehicles, stolen ships, whatever happened to, whatever came her way was something that she either knew how to do or learned how to do already. It's just that she did it for disreputable people in even worse circumstances. Eventually, she got caught and went to prison, and it's real hard to go legit back in the world once you've been to prison. There's that, just a few questions like, have you committed a crime? Have you gone to prison? I mean, stuff that's pretty easy to find. But out here, people don't really ask many questions, so this is kind of like having a future, I guess.
Time will tell how long that future is.
Not very long, I'm sure.
Casey, what did you do before you went back to school and trained as a navigator?
Just a laborer. Frank was just someone who worked, right? Like trying to find a buck before getting involved in learning to navigate and working out in the frontier as a way of increasing their income to pay for things.
Well, that is the perfect segue. I thank you for that. Why did Frank come out to the frontier?
I think Frank's a little bit older maybe and has like you say needed the time to retrain careers kind of and shift over to navigating. But I think he's got some family back home that has put him into some pretty hefty medical debt. And is motivated to make some money and try to that chase the money to set your life right and maybe stop being a slave to the machine so hard. Gamble that we all kind of play.
I mean, I'm just curious. There are a couple of big multi-corporates in this universe. One of them is Weyland-Yutani. Another one is Seegston Industries, and I'm just wondering which of those is actually the company at the top of that bit of the medical industrial complex that you owe a lot to.
Ooh. Feels like Weyland, right? Weyland-Yutani. That just feels like the classic answer that I want to go for.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't it? So if you'd like to add that just to
okay.
to what it says on the character keeper, I'd be grateful because I may forget.
Okay, cool.
Let me bounce back then across character keeper. Yasmin, why did you come out here? I mean, we know that maybe there wasn't a lot of choice back in the core worlds, but
I mean,
it's a long way to come.
So there's not a lot of choice back there, but at least like here is like being free. I can do stuff. People just look at what I can do. They don't look at what I did. You know, Occasionally I even run into someone who finds what I used to do useful. I don't talk a whole lot about it, but they know that if push comes to shove, you know, an engine wrench makes a really handy melee weapon. I'm not saying I've ever used one like that, but just saying.
So life back in the core without very much to do and not an opportunity to do very much leaves you bored. So what excites you most about life on the frontier then? Because I get that fewer
my
questions.
past doesn't follow me, and people actually seem to value me, and that's new for me.
Okay.
I've been a cog in a machine, not unlike some little corpo working for like handing out average Joe pamphlets or something like that. So being valued, like actually getting some responsibility that suggests that somebody thinks I'm competent at something.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an ego boost. What do you want me to say?
Say no more. Finally, Thorn. Why did you come out here to the frontier?
There was a mission that I was not directly involved in, but I was privy to the aftermath of a bunch of Marines coming back in basically dead in various in ways that didn't look like bullets. And they refused, and the USCM refused to answer questions about what had happened to them. I made a fuss about it, and I got pressure put on me that ultimately and ended up in my being cashiered.
Yeah, so
and
so
they're
I mean,
still and they're still holding, and they're still, you know, and they're basically they hounded me out of the main things. They may have attempted to kill me.
well,
Someone may have attempted to kill me. I don't know who that is.
I was gonna go that far, I think, because
Yeah, I think someone took a
this is
shot
a
at me. I
long
don't
way
know
to come.
It is a long way to come. Someone took a shot at me. And they also made threats to people I cared about. And friends of mine who are still in the Marines basically said, "Get out."
Okay, that's fine. Would you just add something about physical risk or threat to that box so I don't forget that? I just realized I've left 2 lines in this keeper that I don't need, so I'm going to get rid of those. There we go. Don't need those. Not for this version. So then describe yourself as a CU. Now I can see some pictures here, but we know that Thorn is younger than you might expect for someone with their experience. Scarred, tough, sardonic. How would Yasmin describe herself? Or what first impressions might people get of Yasmin?
Well, I've heard on far too many occasions somebody say something along the lines of, "You're too pretty to be covered in engine grease." And I usually respond to that with a fist to the mouth. You know, if they can let those words come out of it, and then they can handle my fist meeting it. Because I'm out here for my experience. You know, if people find me attractive, that's fine, but they should keep their mouths shut about it and keep it to themselves.
Fair point. Fair point.
I'm a bit of a prickly person, but once you get to know me, if you actually get to know me, if I get to start thinking of you as something adjacent to a friend, yeah, it's you can start seeing the softer side, a little bit of humor, like that isn't sarcasm, that isn't gallows humor. So you could actually like see me smile maybe.
Wow.
But if you tell me that I'd be prettier if I do it, I'm really going to hurt you.
Put a couple of words or phrases in that box that says describe yourself as other CU that you think picks up, just highlight some of what you've just told me.
Sure.
And then Frank, how would people describe Frank to someone that didn't know him?
Yeah, so I put down older. We talked about that already, and then I think the term's thick in both the sense of like being a large physical person, and also people probably judge him to be dense as well on appearance. And then I also put in rough, just that life as a laborer kind of never goes away, right? Maybe your shoulders are kind of, you know, sloped forwards, and your knuckles are big, and your hands are scarred, that kind of thing.
Okay. Um, and yeah, not your typical kind of bridge crew in that sense.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
I think he looks a
yeah,
little out of place there. Yeah.
fine. So we've got an exec officer who seems young for the job. We've got a navigator who seems like maybe they don't have the smarts for the job, and a much more than a pretty face, although she is cute, with a bit of a sharp approach to others, maybe. So all of that is fine, right? Those are our characters. Let's now talk about the rest of the crew. You'll find there's a tab called And Crew. What I want to do is I want each of you to pick one of the remaining crew positions. Well, I tell you what, no, I'll do that. We've got a captain to fill. We've got a science officer to fill. We've got a chief engineer, and we've got our company rep, the EDI rep. Who'd like to give the captain a name? Any offers, or shall I stick to just rolling across the character keeper? Okay, I'll roll across the character keeper. This time I'll start in the middle and go left. So, Puckett, what's the name of the captain?
Mason.
Mason?
Yep.
You want to add that? And captain, and then choose or overwrite first impressions. Let me go to Brandon. You'll find a column, first impressions, choose or overwrite. Choose one of those characteristics or come up with another one that you can overtype into that cell that you think describes Mason.
I would say I'm actually going to overwrite because I thought there was something on the list which I thought would be perfect.
Yeah, the list is for inspiration, not limitations. Disillusioned. Oh, there he is. Captain Mason, disillusioned. Casey, do you want to pick a second characteristic for Captain Mason?
Sure thing.
Now we may see, just for safety's sake, if any of you take an early hit and one of you comes back as Captain Mason, we may discover they have a change of personality. But this is just the sense people get of Captain Mason, a disillusioned person who might also be a bit. What are you thinking?
I mean, like fitter jumps out immediately, but I mean, these are all really good choices.
If more than anything else, that'd give me a little bit of character to hang any RP from my side on.
Right, right. Let's go with disciplined, actually. That sounds,
Yeah, fine.
it's alliterative at the very least.
It is. Yes. Okay, so let me go. Let's go next to you then, Casey. Do you want to name our science officer?
Ooh, okay. Um,
And then I'm going to ask Puckett and Brandon to pick a couple of first impression descriptions.
how about, yeah, let's go with Tethys.
Okay. Talkative Tethys.
Nice.
We're going heavily alliterative. And then I think I'm right that Brandon, you're the only person who hasn't named a member of the crew. So do you want to name our chief engineer?
Yeah.
Oh, talkative and emotionless.
Talk your ear off about science stuff. Really cold and clinical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then Tracy and Puckett, if you want to come up with a couple of first impressions for Patricia Patsy Bailey, our chief engineer.
Casey, what are you thinking?
Um, chief. How about
I'm gonna go
determined?
with them. I'm going with empathetic, so I think that I think those two can fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think she's the reason why Yasmin is working on the boat.
Okay.
Okay, so then I've added Jennifer Homan, who is our analytical, ambitious company rep for EDI, who is here to supervise and ensure that this contract is carried out with sufficient efficiency and you get the job done. You know, you just don't slack because she has a lot riding on this. Okay, so these are our crew and crewmates, and I guess our movie opens as the Bison class USCSS Lake. You'll find some details of the lake in a tab labeled Bison class. Begins to enter orbit above the planet Fiorina 161, and in true alien form, we see a terminal light up on the bridge, deserted bridge, commercial freighter, USCSS Lake, ... Crew, 6 plus 1 passenger, ... Cargo, none. Course, outbound from Earth to Outer Rim territories, ... Fiorina 161, ... Survey and report, ... Mother 6000 boot process, begin. Lake 190257289, galactic position 270X RX883 star P. Velocity status, previous 58.09% speed of light. Actual time 4 Jan. Flight time calculating. Return. Crew waking protocol, begin. And so I think that is where we begin then, again in true alien form, with all 3 of you and the other 4 members of the crew and passenger waking in the cryo unit on the A deck of the lake. What is the first thing when she gets out of the cryopod, Thorn, that she does?
Lights up a cigarette.
Of course she does.
As soon as the gases have dissipated enough that it'll actually light, then she fires up a cigarette. She sits on top of the closed pod, crosses her legs, takes a deep drag, and waits for everybody else to wake up. She's done this a lot.
Yep. What's the first thing that Yasmin does when she's woken from cryosleep?
Once the pod opens and the drugs clear my system, I yawn and stretch my arms really far, well, not really far back as I can stretch them in the pod, kind of roll over a little bit, still half sleepy, sit on the edge of the pod, feet dangling just a little bit above the floor because the pod's a little bit taller than my legs are to meet the floor. And then I just kind of stretch and move around a little bit, wriggle.
What's the first we see of Frank?
I think Frank goes for a slash.
Yeah. So we see Frank, and this, of course, gives us a chance to see more of the ship. So we see him going down these, off-white, slightly worn corridors that we're familiar with from the franchise. And as he moves down, the lights come on ahead of him. And he makes his way to the back of A deck where, showers and, bunks and other stuff is located. And that's where he heads. And I guess that probably that is where he bumps into Patsy Bailey, who's also freshening up what's the conversation between Frank and Patsy? You're looking tired, big guy.
Oh,
She
yeah.
says.
Yeah, this never gets easier.
Ah,
Never
well,
gets easier.
it's all in the mind, Frank. It's all in the mind. You have to enter the pod in a positive state of mind, and that means you come out the pod in a positive state of mind. You just need to stick at it.
I guess if practice makes perfect, maybe I will get
Yeah.
used to it.
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of Thorn? I mean, Thorn, that young for an XO, or am I just, being ageist?
No, no, but I mean, it seems like this is a young man's game, so it's not too
Ah,
surprising, I guess.
she kind of slaps you on the shoulder, says, "Don't, yeah, you've got years of this yet, Frank boy, years of it," and goes off to have a slash herself. Um, who, which member of the crew does Yasmin find herself in conversation with?
Good question. Probably Mason, because I'm not exactly bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but I actually seem happy to be here.
And I think there's that kind of, oh shit, why do I do this? Oh, says Mason. Okay, Yasmin. Find Patsy, start running the checks on systems. Let's make sure life support's up to snuff.
We're breathing, aren't
And
we?
well, yeah, and if you find Frank, tell him to check that we're in, that we're where we're supposed to be, okay?
You all right, Chief?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just just make sure Patsy doesn't skip any of the tick lists, okay? She can be a
But
little
she
bit kind
never
of
does that.
ditzy. Well, yeah, I appreciate the loyalty. But just do that for me, okay? Keep her on the straight and narrow. I
I
sometimes think
I
she
will
should be doing something else. I don't know. Engineering just doesn't seem to suit her, but that's just me.
I will absolutely make sure that she is on the straight and narrow. And anybody who kind of knows me can see that I'm trying not to chuckle at that.
Um, Thorn,
Yeah.
who do we see you talking to?
Um, so I think the first thing that Thorn does after after her head clears, is to thump the comm, and say, generalship hail. Um, you know, crew from Cryo report in and tell me uh that your various limbs and such are all present and accounted for before you go about your job. Um, and uh, and then I think probably Jennifer Homan is nearby,
Yeah,
and
Jennifer
Thorne
Holman
shoots
is
her shoots
she's
shoots her a
throwing
look
up
and
in the
says,
corner. She's throwing up.
um, "I'm gonna hand her a towel."
Oh, thank you. Oh, Jesus. Oh,
First
how do
time,
you people do this? Oh,
same way I stood USCM food for years.
oh,
You get
yeah,
used to it.
well, yeah. So this is my first kind of oversight job this far out. Um, how do we start getting things done?
Captain's Captain's gonna reconnoiter the site, order us uh to land things, and we'll get going. You don't have a checklist?
I, this is what we pay you people for, isn't it? Mm.
Well,
Oh, Jesus.
we're here to secure the site and make sure that WY hasn't left too much trash in the Carters.
Well, it depends. If it's valuable trash, could be good. But yeah, I take your point. Okay. Can I get a shower
if it's
or
valuable,
something?
if it's valuable trash, WY would have stripped it. If there are still walls in this site down there, you should count yourself fortunate.
Well, remember, we're not buying it. We just check in that what it says in the data is accurate. So that's what I'm after. I just need to know that what they've said is there is there. But
Yeah,
look,
well,
can I get a shower or something? I just feel
yeah,
shit.
absolutely. Third
Where,
door
where,
down
where?
on third
Okay,
door down on the
okay.
right.
Okay. And where's my cabin?
That I don't know.
Well, I
We've
think you
got
probably do know no one has
actually I probably
individual
do know.
cabins.
Yeah. Um, Cabin. Sorry, you've mistaken us for a liner.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We have common accommodations. Captain's the only one with his own bunk.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
So
Okay,
unless you
down
can
here,
persuade
you
the
say.
captain to give up, let's persuade the captain to swap out his bunk, which is not going to happen.
Well, later. And then I think we probably cut to later, because we know that in the middle of a deck on this kind of ship, there's that kind of round table in the middle
Mhm.
of a mess with a kitchenette at the back and
Yeah.
seating around the side. So I think unless any of you want to be doing something else, I think you're all sitting around that table, having a meal, reconstituted from from dry stores, and reporting in, really. So, Captain Mason goes to you first, Thorn, and says, "Okay, Thorn, run the meeting."
Yeah. All right. Let's hear it. Start with engineering.
What?
Don't all raise your
Yeah,
hands at once.
Yasmin, Patsy kind of goes through a list of stuff. What problem have you identified going through the systems?
We'll be able to land, but taking off is going to require a little bit of doing. Apparently some debris hit the ship while we were in space.
Okay, says
Some
Mason. Just what I needed to know.
nothing we can't take care of on the ground, right?
Of course not. It's just going to take us a little while to fix.
All right. As long as we don't have to do it here in orbit. Frank, is that the right planet? Is that the right spot? Yes, no.
The right planet for sure.
Well, let's see what Frank can tell us, because let's engage with
Sure.
the mechanics so we can begin to kind of understand how the dice work. Now, you'll find in the safety and links tab, there's a link to a dice room. It's a dice pool game. Everyone uses the same set of dice. So if you all want to open the dice room, I'll explain what you're looking at. So you will see in the middle of that kind of arrangement, pyramid of dice, there is a gray dice. You always get to roll the gray dice. And the way this dice roller works is if you click on that, a little highlight box will appear around the outside of it. So Frank, why don't you click on that gray dice right now? And then the other dice, there's a kind of orange mustard yellow on my screen, expertise dice to the left-hand side of the gray one. And if you have an appropriate skill set and appropriate expertise, you get to highlight that. Now, because you're being asked a navigation question here, Frank, you get to highlight that one as well. There is a third dice that you always have the option to highlight, because the way this game works is you're going to roll some dice, and it is the single highest number that comes out of that little handful of dice that matters. So at the moment, Frank is going to roll the gray and the orange dice and be looking for a high number. But you can always include the stress dice. The stress dice is there to give you a happy bonus. There are some risks involved in using the stress dice, but if it seems important to you, you should include the stress dice. So Frank, let me begin. And bonus dice may crop up if circumstances make it appropriate. So, and I'll talk about risk when that matters. So, so Frank's going to highlight the gray and the orange, and then that will have lit up a little button at the bottom of the screen, which has a kind of rotating arrow on it, or an arrow that, yeah, hit that one, and those dice should roll. They do. They stayed exactly the same, but they did move. I saw them move. So now, and this allows me to
palm the
introduce
dice, Frank.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you know, took them out and put them back. No move. So this is a question. What Thorn has asked you a question, and there is a move on the moves tab, the basic move tab called investigate. When you want to ask a question about someone, something, or somewhere, or want the GM to reveal something about the situation, roll a d6. That's the gray one. Add another d6 if what you're doing benefits from your expertise. Navigator, that's the orange one. Stress dice if you want to take the risk. And on a 1 to 3, you get the minimum amount of information you need to proceed and mark danger due to noise, clumsiness, or something else. So you will notice up there on the very top left of the characters tab a set of little boxes labeled danger. I'm going to mark the first danger tab because as this mounts up, circumstances will get more dangerous. There are ways to reduce danger, but we'll worry about that in a bit. So literally, Frank, all you can tell them is down there is Fiorina 161.
Right. Yep.
And it's kind of, it's very late in their 80-hour day. So that's about all I can tell you on the basis of that roll. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but you know, it's enough to convince Thorn, so that's fine.
Right. Yeah. It's the right planet.
It's the right planet. Anything else, Thorn? Anybody else you want to kind of question?
I'll ask. I don't think Tethys is going to have much yet. They'd be the first to tell me. And they haven't been down planet side yet, so they're not going to have a lot. If they have a problem with their lab, they'll pony it up.
Well, yeah, no, Tethys does. So, excuse me, Thorn. I do have something to say. And
my attempt to skip them over it failed.
Exactly.
Fails miserably.
And kind of goes through in a desperately boring way everything that they know about Fiorina 161, and you will find a summary of that on the Fiorina 161 tab. You know, surface barren, rocky, brownish gray, blah 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 blah. And by the 20 minutes of talking about how the mineral processing plant
I'm going
work.
to shut this down at a certain point.
But there's some really important stuff here.
Yeah, that's fine. You can put it in the written report.
Okay, yeah, I'll make sure it's available
Ms.
on the
Homan,
mainframe.
I'd like to introduce you all to Ms. Jennifer Homan, who's our EDI rep.
Still pretty kind of.
Ms. Homan, you have anything to say at this time?
Yeah, I want to get started. Look, and she kind of goes through a piece of paper that says, as I understand it, this contract means that if you get this done quickly, there is a significant bonus on the table for you. So we're expecting you to have surveyed the site in about 72 hours. And then I'll be able to sign off on the bonuses when we get home. So, this is all very interesting, but I'm quite keen to know what happens next. How do we start getting this job done? Because, it's like nearly 90 minutes since I woke up and we're still sat here and the planet's down there. Can we make a move now?
We've got a procedure, ma'am. We'll get your survey done.
Jesus. And that, I think, is where we'll take our first commercial break. It is currently 4 minutes past the hour. I'd like to suggest a 10-minute break at this point, just so I can make a cup of tea. And so if we go back in our seats at 1/4 past the hour, is that okay?
Absolutely.
I will pause the recording till then. So back from our first commercial break, and we see the crew discussing how they're going to organize this work. Now, there's a bit of mechanics in this, so I'll ask you to have a look at the Fiorina 165 tab, yeah? You'll see there's a contract objective front and center. Your bonus relies on making 3 times survey completed in each area of the site within 72 hours. That's 9 shifts. You'll see I've marked shifts across the bottom. To get your bonus, you have to tick all those red boxes. And you can tick one of them per shift for 1 or 2 people surveying a part of the site. And the site, you know, there are 3 industrial chemical engineering blast furnace type ore processing areas, 1, 2, and 3. There's the mothballed living quarters, and there's also the smelter stroke furnaces area. So the question I have, I think really for the players, but I guess Thorn is running the meeting, is how do you want to come at this? You could cover 6 of these at once if you all, you know, split up. Or do you do this in 2s or 3s or what? Thorn, what are you thinking?
I want pairs. God knows what kind of a mess WY has set up, especially some of these areas are dangerous. They've been, you know, they've been out of service for quite a while.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
just,
the ore processing was shut down before the penal colony here was shut down 2 years ago.
yeah. They pulled out in a hurry. I don't trust that they left, you know, that there aren't places that might cave in or have, you know, dangerous electrical facilities and things like that. So
Okay.
I want pairs.
Okay. So Frank, who do you want to pair up with? Could be a player character, could be a non-player character, up to you.
Sorry, I'll put this disclaimer out there. I'm from the Midwest, so I will always defer / be extra super nice. No, sorry. Does anybody else have any strong feelings about it, or
I doubt it.
other
You know,
people.
go for it. Go for it.
I would
go with you,
suggest
Frank,
that
if you're
we
cool.
have like the 2 engineering people split up.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. No, we want different. Also, the other advantage of pairs is you have different eyes on something,
Mm-hmm.
right? If there's something here that's going to cause EDI trouble, better to have people from looking at it 2 different ways.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's as much about whether you want to have a scene with one of the other player characters or with one of the
Right.
non-player characters, because there'll be a little bit of interchange, not just a dice roll.
Pocket, do you think Yasmin or our chief engineer would be taking lead on fixing what went wrong with the ship?
Probably the chief engineer.
Oh, at that
All
point,
right.
Miss Hoban steps in. What? Hang on. Did I miss something? Is that part of the contract?
It is if we
You
want to
know,
leave.
you can fix the ship. I mean, hang on. Didn't somebody tell me you've got some shuttles and stuff? Why do we have to take the whole ship down? If it's not fit for getting down there or coming back, leave it here. You know, I mean, why? I don't understand.
You don't understand why we want to take the ship down, ma'am?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we just need to get down there, do the work, get back.
Yeah. Taking the ship down means that we don't have to rig quarters down there, which will take time and effort. They're probably quarters down there are probably unheated and in no particular shape to do something. I mean, we could camp rough, but that doesn't seem like something you'd want to do.
Okay. Well,
We take the ship down. We've got
it's
call the comforts of home right here.
folks, it's your bonus. I get paid whether we meet that bonus or not. But if it's fine by you, that's fine. You take as much time as you like. So I'm going to ask Yasmin, you know, is the repair job something that you need Patsy to do, or could you do it?
I mean, either of us could do it.
So which one
You
is
know,
going to do it?
I think it will be more interesting if I am out in the facility wandering around as opposed to sitting on the boat, as it were.
Yeah. Though there is a general rule of thumb that says never get off the boat. So
Sure, but then something gets on the boat.
so Patsy will do the work. Okay. So that leaves somebody having to pair up with Miss Homan. That's great. So
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
do
going to
that.
inflict. I'm going to. Oh yeah, you will. Fine. You're going to fall on the grenade. You can go ahead.
so that's
I was going to have
Yasmin.
people draw the short straw for straws.
Oh, when I volunteer for that, I'm looking dead at you in a way that says, "You owe me for this."
So Yasmin and Miss Homan. Frank, that's taking the choices down. You've got Tethys, the science officer, or Mason, the captain, or Thorn.
Right.
You want to take this first run together, Frank?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
So that's Frank and Thorn. And that leaves Mason and Tethys. Okay. Then all I need to know is who's going to do which bit of the site. So you've got 5 bits of the site, 3 are processing areas, refinery areas, the mothball living quarters, and the furnaces and smelter access. So let me go in reverse order. Frank and Thorn, which one do you want to do?
Probably something a little more suited. I mean, like if anything's going to be dangerous, I think Thorin's going to be the one to go most capable in that. And like Frank feels pretty confident that we shouldn't be putting Miss Holman into any super dangerous situations or places where
No,
she's
we'll take
overwhelmed.
we'll take the smelter. That's
The
the shit
smelter.
job. That's the shit job.
Okay. So
Cool.
that's Thorn and Frank for this first shift. What about Yasmin and Miss Holman? Where are you thinking of starting, Yasmin? Because she'll take your lead.
Let's see. You know, she's all about creature comforts. Let's do the living quarters.
Okay. So this is Yasmin and Holman. Fine. And then that will leave Mason and Tethys to make a start on refinery processing area number 1. Go. Okay. So I'm going to burn my current danger, that one that Frank gave me. And who notices Mason and Tethys having something of a strained conversation? Is that Thorn?
Probably me.
I would have thought so. As
I
you
have an
go to
ear. I have
check.
an. Well, also, I mean, part of my job is managing up. You know, so I probably talk to the captain more than most of the rest of the crew does.
And maybe you're going to find him and you come around a corner and you're just conscious of a slightly heated, not heated. He's kind of trying to get Tethys to just okay, that's fine. Okay, I understand. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Jesus, we'll see, Tethys. It's okay. Do you do anything with that information, or is that just color?
No, I'm gonna say, Captain, anything I should know?
No, Thorn, just and leads you away. Just Tethys being
And I
Tethys.
give him a good strong look.
It sounds to me like you're trying to determine whether he's telling you the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's rolling to investigate. You get the gray dice in the middle. What are we looking at in terms of your expertise?
Um,
I don't think authority would give you that. So I
no,
don't think you've got the
my job,
orange dice.
but my job
Your
does.
job spec. Yeah, your job spec might. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Have expertise. You can have the
My
stress dice as well if you'd like a third dice to roll.
No, I'll roll 2 for right now. You haven't told us how the stress mechanic works, but
Well,
I
I'm
remember
just
from the
waiting for
dark
someone.
conspiracy.
I'm
I
just
remember
waiting
from
for
the dark
someone to,
conspiracy.
kind of get
No,
involved. So, two
we'll just
dice.
do it
Do your
this way.
thing.
Got a
Oh, a 6
6.
and a 2. Great. That's fantastic. So on a 6 to investigate, you get the minimum needed to proceed. He is certainly being cagey. It isn't just that Tethys was being Tethys. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Right.
Now, you get to ask me 2 questions. So what do you want to know specifically?
Well, what I want to know is what's what does the captain know that's here that's not in the official briefing?
Something now you're thinking about it, you heard him say, fuck Tethys, I know the company is, keen, but just relax. So there's something to do with the company. Now, which company? I mean, people talk about the company. They usually mean
Probably.
Weyland.
Yeah, they usually
Weyland-Yutani.
mean yeah.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
say want to say EDI, they usually say EDI.
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. So that's the answer to your first question. There's something to do with Weyland-Yutani in the conversation they had. Anything else you want to ask me?
Is there something to be worried about as opposed to, just something that, someone's on the make or, somebody's, getting extra money to do something that we don't know about. I'm concerned about
Um,
something that's might endanger the crew.
I mean, the company has its fingers in all the pies.
Sure.
That is a concern, but I don't think it's a question I can answer.
Okay.
I think
Um,
anybody would be concerned.
yeah. Okay. Well, then I guess the second question would be um yeah, I guess I know the answer to that question. Um,
I would be very happy for you to ask me if you overheard something else.
yeah,
You
tell
know,
me, tell me what else I may have heard.
um, yeah, the thing he said just before you came on the scene, and he cut the conversation very short, um, was yeah, well, look, as long as it stays on engineering deck 2, nobody ever goes down there. Okay.
Okay.
But on a 6, you also say what freaks you out or highlights potential danger. The very involvement of the company highlights potential danger, and
Yeah.
it says roll for stress. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the game, this means that you pick a dice that you think likes you, and you roll it. If it is higher than your current stress, you mark stress. So if you roll a 1, nothing will happen.
Yes. Well, we'll go with the gray die in the middle. I've seen it roll once before, but not this time.
Fine. So stress goes up by 1. And how do we, the audience, know that this has rattled Thorn a little?
Um, Thorn pops open her locker, rummages around in there a little bit, and comes out um, with a high caliber automatic weapon,
The
which
illegal
she
sidearm she has stowed.
which she tucks into a holster that fits into the small of her back.
Thank you for that segue. If the rest of you want to check down there on row 27, you'll find that you all have something related to your previous existence in your lockers. Um, fine. That went very nicely. Thank you very much. You also mark intel on a 6. So tick and one of those intel boxes. and you might want to check out the Danger Intel tab to see what you can spend it on.
Yeah.
So then I think we cut to the surface. We see the ship settling. It is the same basic model as the Nostromo, without that enormous refinery attached to the back of it. So it's just a bit that landed in the original Alien movie. And the view out of the front windshield of the bridge is just grit and wind, and visibility is probably about 10 or 20 meters. And this is during the day. It is the end of the day. Dusk will shortly fall. You can see the sun, two suns actually, I think, sinking away on the horizon. Let's begin with Yasmin and Miss Holman. Now, I've included a dungeon map of the living quarters. To be honest, it's for effect rather than anything else. But
Sure.
I just want to see, tell me something, Yasmin, about what you see as you crack the main entry airlock. It's not an airlock in the sense it wouldn't cope with vacuum or anything like that, but it's enough to keep the dust and the environment out.
Well, the dust from outside. The first thing that I think I notice is how stale the air in here is. And as I swing my flashlight around, I see there's dust hanging in the air. Nobody's been in here for quite some time. It looks and feels disused, but at least at the outset, I don't think I'm seeing too terribly much to be concerned about.
Yeah, it's a disused habitation
Facility.
unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Howard says, look, can we get the lights on or something? I mean, it's this going to be a lot easier with the lights on.
Of course. We got to go for light. We've got to go to life support for that. And,
Okay.
maybe we can turn on some air units and get the air process and get the air flowing through here a bit and
Yeah, God,
get
it
that
stinks,
dust
doesn't it?
settle.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
this is what abandoned facilities are like. You act like you've never been in one.
I've never been in an abandoned. Why would I ever visit an abandoned facility? The only reason I'm here is because, well, it'll look good on my CV.
Baby
Why are
doll.
you here?
You're in the wrong place if you want to buff up your resume. I mean, you couldn't find some executive to take you out to dinner or something like that?
Oh, I've done those interviews, but this is this could lead somewhere.
Listen,
This
let me just
is
give
a very important contract for EDI.
let me give you a piece of advice for free. If you can get an interview that lasts till the next morning when you're both sitting up in bed and smoking, that's a whole lot easier than being out here and going through places like this.
Well, you're not my type, but let's turn the lights on. Now,
And
there, go
go
on.
ahead.
I was just going to say that there is a, we see you making your way by torchlight through this dusty, stale corridor to life support, which is just over there.
Mhm.
And in there, are we going to see Yasmin, doing her engineering tech stuff?
Yeah, I feel like that would be investigate. I don't see another move that really seems
And
to fit.
there is a move that fits everything that doesn't fit. It's called do something else.
Right. In that case, I'll do
So
something else.
when you do something that isn't covered by another move, say what success looks like and roll a 1d6, the gray one. Your expertise, engineering tech, flies here. So you've got the expertise dice. You can always add the green stress dice.
Oh, come on, Alan. How many times have I played a game like this with you? Um, so I think what success looks like in this case is it's probably at least a little cold in here.
Mhm.
So success would look like the lights starting to flicker on throughout the habitation unit. The air starts circulating. We start feeling some heat coming in. Just the basic creature comforts, and probably a system readout of any irregularities in the system or any problems since it was last activated.
Okay, go ahead. Roll the dice.
It's not at all ominous that the gray dice, the orange dice, and the green dice read 666 right now, is it?
Oh,
They're all
that's a
just getting
cracker.
used to it. They're absorbing sunlight, so that they're all more likely.
Look at that. I got a 5 on the orange dice, and it's the highest one.
There you go. So stress doesn't come into this. On
Yep.
a 5, this goes 4 or 5. You succeed with no obvious complications or benefits. And we see, light speed. Some of them aren't working because, maintenance was poor here. But you get
Yep.
some lights on down the corridors leading from life support. And maybe you can just hear the slow whir of air circulators through the various ducts and gratings that you find here. And this is a really dull kind of, it's messy. If you've seen Alien 3, the walls are grimy. Most things are brown here. It's
Mm-hmm.
warm. It's a bit of a mess. But you are as well equipped as you are likely to be to begin to survey the living quarters.
And I just look at Homan and say, just remember, you came all the way out here for this.
Yeah, well, let's make a start, shall we? Let me cut then to Frank and Thorn, heading to the smelter and furnace annex. Frank, tell me what do you have first impression of this? Clearly, it's a heavy industrial location, but tell me something that we see here as your torchlight kind of scans this area.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I'm just stuck on like the like it sort of looks like it's been abandoned mid-shift almost, right? Like not that there's like a lot of detritus in like the walkways or whatever, but it's like um uh man, like chain pulleys and things that are like halfway suspended where they should have made a full revolution but didn't, or that like that sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And in fact, one of the furnaces, this great enormous crucible, about 20 yards across, is full of metal. It looks like someone
Right.
just let some molten metal in there and just let it cool down. Didn't even kind of extract it or take it away. They just left it there. What, Thorn, makes you feel nervous about this space? If anything, I mean, maybe it doesn't
Because
make
it
Thorn feel
looks.
good.
What makes me feel nervous is that they didn't hit the shutdowns. There's
Right.
there's there's normally smelter operation, hot metals. First thing you do is you hit all the shutdowns, you perform a full thing. It doesn't take that long. I can't imagine anybody running a facility who wouldn't do that automatically unless like they had an airlock breach or something like that, or a fire. There's no fire. I don't see a fire. The airlock was intact, and so that makes me nervous as hell. Something
Well, I
else
mean,
made them bail on that. They were either ordered to bail on this suddenly, or they had some other reason to bail on this suddenly.
Well, suddenly something comes back to you from Tethis's endless briefing. And it is that the refinery had not operated for several years while the correctional facility that was located here was closed down 2 years ago after an outbreak of a disease led to the death of all the remaining staff and inmates. Weyland-Yutani have provided proof that the pathogen concerned was only dangerous because of some dietary deficiencies among the inmates. No additional protective measures are necessary. So they did have to close down in a hurry, it looks like. But then the bit that doesn't fit is this idea that the refinery had not operated for several years prior to the correctional facility closing down. So
why weren't they operating it? Yeah, I mean, if the emergency was the correctional facility shutting down, then why is this place in the state that it's in? Why wasn't it all closed up and mothballed properly when they turned it into a prison?
Do you have that conversation with Frank?
Yes, I do.
Frank, you know a little bit about heavy machinery and stuff than Thorn does. So do you have any questions you want to ask about this?
It does seem unusual that they wouldn't like at least empty the smelters out, right? Like, or yeah, I've never seen production shut down like that, especially in a place that would stay operational, right? Or to some extent, right? Like, yeah.
Let's have you roll to investigate.
Okay.
To see what you make of this location. So you're rolling the grey dice. I think that your understanding of machinery gives you the expertise dice, and you can always add the stress dice if you'd like a third one.
I think I'll stick with 2 for now, even though, man, my roll was terrible last time. We'll see what happens this time. All right, there you go.
6. Look at that.
6 is good and bad.
Right.
It's good.
Yep.
It's always great. It's always great. Well, mark intel before I forget. So mark intel. On a 6, you get the minimum needed to proceed. Well, the minimum is this is an odd setup. This is an odd close down, as Thorn has surmised and you've discussed with them. But then you can ask me 2 questions or ask me to fill in 2 bits of information.
Yeah, so is there anything that like betrays the shutdown or like the mechanical aspect of it, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, it's odd, because when you begin to clamber around this and head up onto the gantry that overlooks this enormous kind of furnace, it does look like the settings here, and because this is the retro future, they're all kind of big levers and stuff. The way the machine was shut down was that it looks like they fired up just one of the furnaces, and then they funneled all their material into that one furnace. And that's not the way you run a smelter.
Mm-mm.
And I think, do you want a second thing you notice up there on the gantry? Or have you got a question as a follow-up?
Ooh. The only other question I was contemplating was just like, is there anything about, well, I guess, yeah, there is, right? This would be the thing that like differs from, like we suppose, or no, presumably we have like what it should look like, right? We're investigating or making sure it's up to spec or whatever, right? So I would, yep. So I was just, my only other idea was to ask like if there's anything here beyond this that like skews from the spec that would like trigger any suspicion or not. But I'm fine with the second piece of information from up here as well.
Oh no, I mean, I will tell you what's odd here, and that is that's the kind of indentations caused by automatic bullet gunfire across one side of this area. Somebody shot a big gun here.
I know guns. Is it a
you
big
do?
gun?
But let me finish.
Yeah, no, okay,
with Frank
of course.
First. So Frank, that is very odd indeed, and it is not in the specs. Would you roll for stress, please? So pick a dice that you like, and if it rolls higher than your current stress, stress will go up by 1.
Oh, all right. Yep.
I think that is higher. Up it goes by 1.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I could tell you, Thorn. I mean, from Frank's point of view, this was a big gun. But as you look at this, this is characteristic of the standard pulse rifle.
Yes.
So this is not the kind of stuff that people just having,
No, this is it's a, I mean, it's not a heavy weapon, but it's a military weapon.
Yeah,
that the guards would have no reason to have in a prison.
exactly so.
Because pulse rifles tear people apart. You don't use that as part of prison stuff. That's
not even
and
in
I
a
mentioned this to
contracted
Frank.
facility for
No,
Weyland-Yutani, would that be common?
no, you don't want the prisoners to die. You want them to do useful labor.
Exactly.
It's just murder. It's just a, and I point this out to Frank. I say, Frank, this is a pulse rifle.
That may or may not mean something to Frank, but
It's a military long. It's a military rifle, standard issue USCM.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, does it? There's nothing about that in the report or the specs.
Nothing. No. Okay. Shit.
yeah,
I mean,
shit,
well,
Rob,
I guess recent. I would probably ask, like, because I'm confused, right? Like, oh, well, that's weird. Like recently, or I mean,
ooh, that's an interesting question. Can you throw any light, Thorn, on whether this was kind of yesterday or decades ago?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I don't see any spent brass.
sure,
No,
right.
that's exactly right.
So it wasn't recent. So it wasn't super recent. But could have been 6 months ago. It could have been 5 years ago.
Sure.
I think I'm right in saying the pulse rifle has chemical propellant, so it burns up on when you pull the trigger, so there wouldn't be brass.
That's right. There's no brass.
But I
yeah.
think I won't make you roll for this. I think there's sufficient kind of corrosion or dust in these marks
Right.
on the wall to suggest that it's years old.
Right.
Several years old.
Yeah, Frank, this is at least a year old, maybe 5 years old. Who knows? But yeah, they didn't. None of the history for either the smelter or for the prison tallies with this. So this is something else happened here that they are not telling us about.
Is it something we're going to include in our report?
I would keep that out of the official paperwork from the moment, Frank. You never know who reads that stuff.
Well, Frank, I mean, if this, there's a slight worry in that, isn't there? Because you really need this contract bonus to come through, and it would be tricky if it turned out that somebody checked the work and then he didn't get the bonus. But Thorn probably knows best.
You can.
Yeah, and I think I
would, if you feel obliged, Frank, you can mention that the walls have, pock marking or stuff like that. But
right.
I would be hesitant about drawing conclusions in your report that might lead to somebody reading something they really, really don't want to see. Trust me on this.
Yeah, I think Frank's hip enough to being the laborer cog in the machine, and also does want that bonus. So I think Frank might be a little bit more concerned with like getting it done quickly and like making the paperwork make sense a little bit more than an accurate report.
That makes
Frank
sense
might be
to
a little short-sighted.
So I think the rest of your shifts roll out in this way. Let me go back to Yasmin and Homan. You'll find a basic move called Meet Contract Objectives. When you've spent a shift on the objective, roll a d6. I think your engineering tech here and the fact you have the specs means that you also get to roll the orange dice, and you can include the stress dice if you'd like.
And then it says add the bonus die if there's more than one of you on the job.
Indeed so.
All right. So I'm going to roll 4 dice.
You are.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Oh, look, a 6
on the stress die.
Wow, what could go wrong?
It's the stress die.
It is.
So stress automatically goes up.
Just to explain to Casey, if the stress dice comes up highest or equal highest, stress automatically goes up. So Yasmin, add a stress. But on a 6, wow, 4+, you've completed your survey and this area, but don't find, sorry, 4+, don't find anything valuable to the mission. On a 6, though, you're lucky and the GM will agree with you what you do find that is valuable to the mission. Mark intel before I forget.
All righty,
what
one
do you
moment.
find here?
Mm.
This could be something that you'll see there's a search location move. It could be something off that list.
Right, and then there's the search location.
Yes.
See the equipment list. Hmm. I would like to find. Would it be fair to say that I find a pulse rifle that needs repair and maintenance
I
from
love
disuse?
that. I love that. I love that. It jammed and somebody dumped it.
Yeah,
How
but
great
it
is
is
that?
clearly a military grade pulse rifle.
Yeah, you will find down on row 40 and downwards a list of equipment. And down there on row 46, you'll find a pulse rifle under Yasmin Stahl, so you can tick that box.
Oh,
And
we're back on the character tab. I thought we were
sorry,
looking
we
at a
are. I beg
different
your
tab.
pardon. I beg your pardon. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
I skipped that without
46. Yes.
Yeah.
Pulse rifle, long.
It has 2 little black boxes. That means that you need to mark 2 of the equipment boxes on row 25.
Okay.
And you are no longer quick.
Okay.
It's bulky, this thing.
Now, let me ask, just for my own peace of mind, if I give this to Thorn, who is someone that I presume is qualified to use it and knows how to, as well as maintain it and get it back in working order, does that then transfer to, say, the ship's inventory so anybody can use it? Or would that go to Thorn, or would that stay in my inventory?
That depends what you do with it. Once you hand it over to somebody else,
It's part of their inventory. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
there is a ship's locker and there's an armory that only the captain has a key to.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Homan says, what the fuck? That's a gun.
This isn't just a gun. This is a military weapon. I don't know what the hell they had
here. And you see her kind of, scrolling through her data pad. It says here that the warden was able to issue kind of shock sticks when when the thing was running at full capacity, but it doesn't mention any guns here.
Yeah, a gun shouldn't be here. That's why this is weird.
Well, look, just leave it here then. I mean, we don't need it.
You don't just leave stuff like this laying around. Look, Thorn was in the Marines. They'll know what to do.
Okay.
I mean, wouldn't you rather have this in the hand of somebody who knows how to use it, what to do it, etc., than instead of just laying around somewhere?
Well, I don't know. That Thorn seems a bit of a jerk. I don't know if sure it's safe with them.
It's safer with them than
and all those scars and stuff, Oof.
The Colonial Marine doesn't go around handing out ice cream.
Okay. Well, okay, but look, let's keep this out of the report because it's not supposed to be here.
How about this? We'll keep it out of the report unless it becomes necessary to put it in the report. Does that work for you?
Yeah, because I can't imagine any circumstances when that would be true. So fine, let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay.
And cut to Thorn and Frank. Frank, I think given that you have the kind of heavy industry experience here, I think it's appropriate to ask you to roll for this shifts exercise.
Okay.
But before I do that, I must remember to mark off the fact that the living quarters have marked one of their 3 boxes. So you've covered about a third of the ground, Yasmin and Holman. So, Frank, you get the grey dice, you get the orange dice, because I think machinery counts here. You can have the bonus dice, because there are 2 of you on the job, and you can have the stress dice if you want it.
3 dice seem fine. So what's the mechanic for rolling the stress dice anyways? Like, so if you roll the stress
Okay.
die, your stress automatically goes up?
No, if you end up with the
it's the
stress
highest
die being equal to or higher than any other dice, you end up relying on it, then stress automatically goes up. Any 6 you roll can results in you rolling 4 stress, which means that you roll d6. If it's above your current stress, it goes up. So, you know, the game is largely about stress going up.
Right. 3 dice are okay for now, I think. I think I'll be all
Of
right.
course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah,
But
nothing's
6s
gone
give you
terribly
intel,
wrong.
which can bring your stress down. So, you know, there's that.
Fair enough. All
5.
right, so 5.
Easy peasy. On a 5, we have the smelter. I will mark one of the survey bits completed. You've worked your way around this. You've picked up some information. Unless somebody wants to do something else, I'm going to cut back to the ship. And I'm going to mark area 1 as having completed. Though Mason and Tethys are late coming back. Fair to say that they are the last pair back. What's Frank? Who do you want to have a scene with anyone when you get back to the ship before our commercial break?
No, nothing's coming to mind right now. Sorry.
Okay. Thorn, do you want a scene with somebody, or does
Yes,
Yasmin want to have a scene with?
I want to talk to Yasmin.
And my
Good,
guess
because I was
is
coming to grab
Yasmin.
you.
Okay, well,
Exactly.
but
My
we bump
guess
into
is
each
that
other in the corridor.
Yasmin calls you down to, you know, near the airlock. And Yasmin, how do you open the conversation with Thorn then?
Way too public. I want, like, if I can find a utility closet to have this conversation and that nobody goes to. I think it's worthwhile to have Homan with me.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I think probably somewhere down on, you know, B deck, down on engineering, you know, there's air scrubbers and it's engineering.
Yeah, nobody goes down there.
Nobody goes down there. So yeah. And I dare say Thorn's a bit confused about why you've called him down here, but what do you say, Yasmin?
I will fish around in my boiler suit, for lack of a better term, and pull out the pulse rifle and say, so found this in the living quarters.
Thorn doesn't seem the least surprised, is the odd thing. She takes it from you, pops the ammunition clip, works the slide, and says, it's got a jam.
I figured you would know what to do with it.
Yeah. Blindfolded, holding my breath. If when my sergeant had anything to say about it, yeah.
So yeah, we found this in the living quarters, just laying in the hallway.
We found some interesting pockmarks in the walls down in the smelter that match this puppy.
And I look at Homan and say, I'm not sure it's necessary to put this in the report yet, but remember our deal that if it becomes necessary to report this, finding this gun, that we report it, right?
Right now, I see this as an unnecessary complication. Put it somewhere and let's forget we ever found it.
I'll take care of it. Thank
Happy
you,
with that,
Stahl, for
Yasmin?
bringing this to me attention. I'm going to wait for Homan to leave.
Okay.
You know,
And then I'm going to lean
as
and say, you're gonna like get that thing working again, just in case, right?
yeah. What
Okay.
a pulse rifle, a pulse rifle that doesn't work is a very expensive crowbar.
I'd look at it more like a hammer, but
Yeah, I
same
guess you could
thing.
use it as a hammer. You could crack nuts with it, you know.
Doorstop.
Yeah, that's true.
But
That's true.
what the hell is it doing here?
Something they didn't tell us about.
Well, no shit. But why the hell would you have a pulse rifle on a prison planet?
There's no reason, unless there was uh, unless there was something going on that there's no evidence for.
I mean,
I imagine
Colonial
that if the
Marines are the only
prisoners,
people.
I imagine that if the prisoners had rioted and taken the facility over, and the entire thing had all order had broken down, then you might have people come in and shoot people. Otherwise, you'd never do it.
But I mean, Colonial Marines are the only people who have access to this weaponry, right? I
Uh,
mean,
a
legally.
few rifles get lost, but yes. WI doesn't like this model anyway.
So,
The corps use a different use a different gun. The pulse they consider the pulse rifle to be too big and heavy for most of their actions.
so this is something we should be like aware of, maybe even worried about, right? I mean, you know about this stuff. I mean, you said there's bullet holes somewhere, and now we find a gun that it could have left those bullet holes.
Yep.
That's something to worry about, right?
Uh, it means that the reports are to have a giant lie of omission in them. Yeah. Maybe this whole disease bit was a fabrication. I don't know. This is not the first time I've been lied to, nor I suspect you.
No.
Whether there's still something dangerous going on, I don't know. Whatever the shooting, whatever that was, is years ago, from the looks of things. I want to tell you something else before I forget.
Is it something that I want to know?
Something you probably need to know.
Fuck. All right, I wasn't planning on sleeping after finding this thing anyway.
Well, that's what stims are for, right? Um, Tethys, I overheard Tethys talking to the captain about something on engineering deck 2 that they didn't want that's not mentioned on the ship's manifests, and that the captain seemed reluctant to share any details of.
And I
I didn't.
slowly close my eyes and say, you know where we're standing right now, right?
Yeah. I have no idea what this might be. Maybe somebody's making a little money on the side. Wouldn't be the first time.
Is
I just
this
thought
something?
I just thought you should know, because I know you can keep things under your hat if need be.
Is this something that you would like me to look into?
I'd kind of like to know what's going on board my ship. Yeah.
Is this something that I can loop Patsy in on?
You use your judgment.
I think that's a
You,
great place to close that scene.
yeah.
Yep.
I will just do a final bit of housekeeping, which is that every time you go somewhere new, I get to mark danger. So I'll mark 1 danger for each of those 3 areas you went to. And we'll take our second commercial break. Shall we say we're back in our seats at 10 past the hour? Is that long enough?
Yeah.
Works for me.
See you then. So I think rather than following the gun, or following Yasmin into the bowels of the ship, I think at this point I'd like to just cut to the bridge or the mess, because that's where Mason expects you all to check in and, get something to eat and report on what you found. Thorn, I'm presuming you've stowed that gun somewhere other than brought it up to the mess, but
yes, I am not not bringing this up to
just
the table.
checking. And when he says, do we find anything interesting, or is it just, ticking boxes? And Homan catches Thorn and Yasmin's eye, as if to say, and Frank, are you tempted to mention the bullet spray?
I don't think so. I think Frank probably just like head down in his meal, like this might be above his pay grade kind of thing, right? Like if he can just ignore it and make it through this and get the paycheck, that might be
But
key.
I'm interested. What is it that means that our audience knows that Frank is feeling a little of the strain in terms of how his stress is manifesting? How does that come across?
Maybe he's not eating, right? Like he has a plate of food. He's a big guy. He should be eating, right? Like it's totally that would be expected, right? But he's maybe just like kind of pushing food around his plate.
Okay, I've just
Thinking,
put loss of appetite down. So yeah, okay.
yeah.
And I noticed Yasmin. I mean, Mason say, Yasmin, will you put those out? Jesus, Thorn's bad enough as you're chain smoking. And but that's when I think over the kind of automatic intercom, there's a screech of static, and everyone rushes to the bridge to see what, because that's not normal. And we see this is our first real look at the bridge, I guess. We all slot into those ranked seating, with Thorn and Frank at the front, and then the captain at the back and stuff. What the fuck was that? Says Mason. I think that this is pilot or navigator. Who's going to act first? I'm just looking at this: deadly, survival, authority, observation, Frank. I think this comes down to you. So you get the gray dice, you get the orange dice, and you can include the stress dice if you like.
I mean, I hear that's the way to do it, so let's do it.
The audience wants to see the stress die. They're like the
Oh, look at that! A 6! Congratulations. The 6 is unfortunately on the stress dice, so stress automatically goes up by 1, Frank.
Yep.
But that's brilliant, because what that was your comm system picking up some communications. So you get that for nothing. If you're prepared to use up one question, I'll tell you something else. So you've got 2 questions to play with.
Yep.
I see you fiddling with comms, and maybe shouting back to Patsy, or probably more likely Yasmin, actually. Could just refine that. Just follow my lead on this. And it is relatively short distance. It's the kind of wavelength a walkie-talkie would use, or a pair of walkie-talkies would use, because we're retro future here. And then, you tinker with the receiver, and you hear a voice that says, they're back on the ship. They seem to just wander around kind of with clipboards. What do you want to do? What you don't hear is the other side of the conversation. You have 1 question left, Frank.
What the fuck was that?
That's a very good question. I might not get an answer.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what the script calls for at this point. Somebody's out there, and they appear to be talking about you lot.
Yes.
I mean, that's not scary. You're going to roll for, stress went up, so it is a bit scary. Do you want to poll the table, see if anyone's got any questions?
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. Was anybody thinking anything?
Because you're all on the bridge, and Frank has said, "What the fuck?"
Got a direction, Frank?
Oh,
Yeah, if
good
you want
question.
one.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Yep.
It's you reckon it's no more than kind of 100 meters that way.
Very close. Just over there, it seems. No good.
Mark intel, because you got a 6.
Oh,
Congratulations.
yeah. Yep. And then I roll all the die to for stress, right?
No, you don't have to, because you were lucky enough to have got the highest dice on the stress dice already, so it automatically went up.
Oh, you don't get double tapped on that one?
No.
No,
Okay.
that would be harsh.
Well, I thought that maybe yeah.
Um, Shortly, I will ask to introduce you to the idea of seeking relief from the horror. But for now, I think there's a stunned silence on the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Thorn,
think
you're
Frank
going to
has
step
definitely
in?
either turned to Thorn or Mason. Like,
Captain.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, man, what's happening here? Like, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Is Holman on the
Interestingly,
bridge?
Mason, yeah, no, everybody, she
Okay.
saw her as she followed. Mason looks at Tethys.
Captain, are there supernumerary personnel on this trip?
Shit, no.
Permission to investigate.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Okay.
Is Patsy still out there working?
Shit.
Patsy stayed
Where
on the
is
ship.
Patsy? Did she?
Well,
Okay, she did.
she was
Oh,
doing
here
the
she is.
repairs.
Yeah. It's oh shit, there she is. Just that. So yeah, no, yeah, you need to check it out. Just be careful. Who's gonna
Yeah,
go with you?
Captain, I'd like to break out weapons.
What do you mean break out weapons?
We have unauthorized people here, Captain. We don't who are evidently keeping tabs on us. They know they have been watching us, which means they might have a chance to ambush us. Frankly, I'd like to make this an even fight.
Okay. I'll get I'll get the
Just
pistol.
just a pair of sidearms, Captain. That's fine.
A pair.
I'm going with someone else. You think I'm going alone?
Yeah, well, one of you's got to go with a bad attitude because we come with a gun, okay? So and he disappears into Mother, where only he has access, and in there is the lockbox that contains the captain's gun.
Okay.
And he brings that back to the mess and says, "Okay, Thorn, here's the gun. Bring it
All right.
back."
Yes, Captain.
Who are you taking with you?
Um, who wants to go? This is a narrative.
Yeah. I mean, Yasmin, Frank, either or both.
Both of you, everybody can shoot, you know.
I'll go.
Yeah, there's only the one
Okay.
gun.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah. There's only the one gun. Yes.
Bright said if you take me and nobody else, you can bring the pulse rifle without having to explain anything.
Yeah, the pulse rifle, I haven't had a chance to put the rifle back in working condition yet. So, but yeah. All right, Yasmin, let's go.
Frank, what are you going to do?
And Yasmin, when we get, just so you know, when we get out of eye shot here, I'm going to hand you the captain's gun and say, "Don't lose this." And I'm going to pull my own. I'm going to, and I'm going to pat my own where you can see it.
Frank, is there anything you want to do when these two descend in that lift that drops out of the belly of the ship? I mean, there is a science bubble in the belly of the ship from which you might be able to observe some stuff, Frank, if you wanted to go down there. It's down on deck 3, C deck, engineering deck 2.
Yeah, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, okay, says Mason. Somebody needs to keep an eye on him. And he'll issue each of you with a walkie-talkie. you'll find down on row 27 there is a ship's locker. And he'll issue the 2 walkie-talkies. So let's mark up your equipment. So you'll find each of you, I think, has got a walkie-talkie in the list somewhere. Yeah, there it is. It takes up one of those little boxes of equipment. And a sidearm takes one. But you can get rid of that. We know that there's a pulse rifle in play somewhere, but that's not on your person at the moment. So I think I come to Thorn. How do you want to play this? And I'm imagining maybe Frank is in that bubble, just listening to anything else off that walkie-talkie and maybe guiding you in.
Yeah,
Does
that's
that
what
seem
I'm doing.
like a cool thing?
If Frank gets any more transmissions, he can direct us.
Yeah.
And update us. So I'm leaving an open channel to Frank. And then otherwise, I'm just coaching Yasmin through standard military, protocol. Yeah. And investigating places with possible people that don't like us is what the Marines do.
So is this one forward,
Yeah.
one forward, or is this flanking?
No, we're always within eye shot of each other, and it's very much Overwatch. It's
Enough said.
Cover, it's basically, we find a door, somebody opens the door, the other person covers the door.
That works for me.
I don't care what the captain said. I don't mind pissing these people off, whoever the fuck they are.
So I think you want to do this without them knowing you're coming. So this is avoid detection, the basic move, avoid detection. And I think that you get the basic dice. I think that your kind of military background and your deadliness will count as your expertise here. And you can have the stress dice if you'd like it.
I would. You're getting into serious territory, but look at that.
Oh my, look at that. So I will
god-awful roll.
I will mark the 4th of the 4 passive danger boxes. That's cool. Because this allows me to declare some stuff. What do you do when, you brush against some piece of machinery or some balustrade, and there's this kind of clang of metal hitting metal as you pass it, Thorn? And Yasmin is back behind you, not yet, you're always about 10 meters apart. What do you do?
Get to cover and wait to see what anybody does.
And over the walkie-talkie, you hear Frank say, "Shit, I think they heard you."
Yeah, I would have heard me.
But I think that what I will declare is that when you go to cover, you duck down behind Thorn, you duck down behind what looks like an old piece of generator or something. Yasmin, what do you do? Do you stay where you are and take cover when you see Yasmin, when you see Thorn dive, or do you try to get to them?
Spent long enough as a criminal to know that something is going to go on with this. So I'm going to try to get to maybe not a secret location, but a location where I am effectively hidden so that I can ambush anyone who comes after Thorn.
Fine. I think what this is avoid detection, I think. I'm going to treat this as your unobtrusive is at play here. So I think that's gray and orange. You can have the stress dice if you like it, but the very distraction that Thorn has created means that you will be able to disappear. But this will also disappear you from Thorn's view, if you want the bonus
Understood.
dice. Fine. So you can have all 4 dice if you want them.
If I don't use the bonus die, I can stay with Thorn will know where I am.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Thorn's a good shot. She's not going to hit anything that's not intended. I'll go ahead and take the bonus die.
Okay. Oh my.
That's a bunch of threes.
Look at all those
Yeah, it
threes.
is. It is. So I will mark the first active of the danger track. But what
And
I will
there's no
tell
way to
both of
re-roll,
you,
right?
no, no, no. The alien
No.
universe is far less forgiving than vampires. Um, Thorn, when you dive behind that cover, you come up against what looks to be a vaguely ovoid, leathery sack that's maybe waist height or maybe level with you, given that you're crouching down.
Mhm.
Yasmin, you head in a different direction. And again, you try to be careful, but you make noise. And you come across a similar leathery sack. But when you get to it, the top begins to open. Like so. Thorn, what do you do?
Leathery sack. Um,
It looks really out of place here because everything else is kind of rusty metal. The wind is howling through the metal,
yeah.
whistling through it. And there's this kind of peculiarly organic sack about a meter and a bit high and maybe half a meter or so across.
Um,
Looks a bit like that.
yeah.
I tell you what, while Thorn's thinking about it, the
I mean,
top
no,
begins to
what I'm
open.
doing is listening to make sure that I don't hear movement. And then if I don't, I'm going to try to fall back to where Yasmin is.
Okay, okay. Yasmin, it's same description, but the top section, it's clear that the top kind of opens up into four fleshy, organic sections. What do you do, Yasmin? Because I think probably for effect, when you stumbled around that corner and made a noise, you ended up on your hands and knees and you look up and this thing is in front of you. What do you do?
I'm going to grab the gun and shoot the fuck out of it. Because this is not supposed to be here. We don't know what this thing is, but it was not reported on any of the lists we've seen. And it's opening, so it's clearly organic.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing.
Frank, you don't hear the shots because you're sealed in this bubble in the belly of the ship. But you hear Yasmin go, fuck, 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 and then bang, 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 bang. And over the walkie-talkie from the unknowns, you hear somebody say, fuck, somebody's shooting. I'm getting out of here. It begins to leak fluid, Yasmin. As you step away, bang, 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 bang. But then there's that kind of quiet, and the wind is just howling. What do you do when something comes around the side of that? Can I take you to confront them? Because
I wish you wouldn't.
each xenomorph has a different behavior. So this is when a xenomorph enters the scene. Do you have survival, cowardice, or deadly, Yasmin?
I should have stayed with survival. I really should have stayed with survival. And no, I've got analysis.
No. Okay. Well, you can ask me some questions about this in a while. If this is your first encounter with one, roll for stress, please. Because this is live.
That's two. Apparently, it doesn't stress me out at all.
How remarkable is that?
It hasn't registered yet.
But then roll a d6 to see what it does as you kind of look at it stunned or shocked or 5. Okay. 4 plus. It skitters towards you. What do you do before it rolls again?
Oh, I fucking shoot it.
Okay. Right. So, if you attack a threat with the objective of hitting them, roll a d6 because you can shoot things.
Okay.
Add a d6 if you have shooting so that you get the expertise dice. You are not deadly and it's not a heavy weapon, so you're not getting the bonus dice, but you can add the stress dice if you'd like.
Oh fuck yeah, I want it. I want all three. I want as many dice as I can roll against this thing.
Oh no!
Good Lord. What a series of
1 to
naturals.
3. You mark danger, so I'll do that for you just out of convenience. You mark danger, and due to the attention you track, and you fail, or the GM may offer you success at a cost. No, I don't offer you success at a cost. It scuttles towards you. What are you shouting over into the? Are you shouting anything to the walkie-talkie at the minute, Jasmine? Because it's got a clip to your jacket.
I'm just screaming, Thorn, help!
Frank, you getting this? Do you do anything with this
Yeah,
information, Frank?
I think Frank might be a little overwhelmed, and so you probably are just getting the like frantic voice of Frank being like, "What the fuck is going on down there? What is happening?" You know, like those other people fucked off. So it's not that, right? Like, what are you shooting a gun at if you're not shooting a gun at the people that we thought were a problem?
Yeah. I'm seeing the lieutenant in the APC saying, "Sergeant, what's going on down there?" Thorn, what do you do when you hear across the wind and the howling and the dust? You hear Yasmin saying, "Thorn." What do you do?
I throw caution to the winds and I sprint for a position, whatever, for
Okay.
wherever I can see seems to be coming from.
Okay, well, I think you see the gun flashes, if nothing else, from over
Yes.
there. And I think, Yasmin, given what you've described, you've got up and you're moving away from it, shooting at it.
Yep.
But that you shout for Thorn. Thorn is in motion. But Len, let's roll a d6 and see what the facehugger does next. Possibly a d6 you like.
When you
Wait,
can count on not to
I
roll a
have
one.
to roll?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's much more fun if you do it. One. Okay.
No.
On a 1, it leaps at your face, and you drop whatever you're carrying and roll to do something else to hold it off every turn until you or someone helping you succeeds brilliantly. So this thing leaps at your face. You drop the gun and you kind of just grab it, just try to hold it away. Roll it to do something else. Do you have an expertise that you think would play here?
Fight.
Fight. Gray, orange, stress dice if you want it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I want every single die I can roll at this point?
The face hugger about to clamp itself to you? Yeah.
Oh, a 3. Oh, a 3. Oh my. Oh my. So on a 1 to 3, you either fail or the GM may offer you success at a cost or after a hard choice they describe, but also mark danger. Ooh, danger is stacking up here.
So what is it,
Right.
Alan?
It clamps itself to your face. Thorn, when you arrive, in your torch, because the sun's gone down now, it's going to be dark for the next 80 hours. You see Yasmin lying there with this thing wrapped around her head. What do you do?
Frank, now you hear Thorn kind of give a a shout into the into the intercom. The fuck? Well, I don't know anything about this thing. I'm gonna try to get off her.
Okay, you try to lever it off. Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's have you roll to do something else, and we're looking for a brilliant success here before the ovipositor gets into position. So I think I'll use your survival. You're strong, so I think I'll happily do that. You can have the stress dice if you want it. I will let you have the bonus dice if you are prepared to take the risk of breaking one of its limbs.
I'll take the risk of breaking one of its limbs.
So
Because I don't know what this horrible thing
dice.
is, but it's got her pinned, and I'm rolling 4 dice.
Yeah, and 1 risk dice.
And a risk die. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
A 5. It's on the
A
stress dice. No
5.
wonder stress goes up. That is not a brilliant success. Happily, you do not damage it. Risk is only 3. If risk had been equal to or greater than your roll, then there might have been a little acid spillage. But right now, Yasmin is lying there, apparently comatose, with this thing clamped to her head.
Jesus Christ.
Thorn, what the hell's going on down there?
I need help now.
What do you do, Frank?
Two people include the I presume the scientist is also our doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, including Tethys.
Okay. I think Frank will, run find Tethys, or Tethys Mason, whoever, right? If they're still up on the bridge.
Yeah. I think you
Yeah.
can walkie-talkie up to the bridge and say, "We've got an emergency. I need Tethys," and and are you going to go, Frank? Before you
Yeah.
get off the boat.
Yeah. Frank will go.
Why down you go? Down in, lift comes up, lift goes down. And you're making your way with Tethys.
I find the captain's gun and secure it, and then I just stand there over. Well, I hide mine. I stand there and I stand there over Yasmin, and I don't get ready to shoot anybody I don't recognize.
And I think probably we cut back to, the med lab on board, where Yasmin is laid out on the therapeutic bed. Everybody else is, unless somebody wants to be doing something else, everybody else is looking through the glass as Tethys kind of, probes at this thing. And is, of course, going to apply a scalpel to one of the limbs. At which point the scalpel fizzes, Tethys drops it, a drop hits the decking and goes straight through it. Frank, Thorn, what the fuck? What do you want to do?
Exactly.
I'm going to go scream at the captain.
Now, this allows me to introduce the Seek Relief from the Horror move. You'll find a tab called Seek Relief from the Horror. If you verbally or physically abuse someone or chat them up in the hope of meaningless sex, is that what you're doing to the captain, Thorn?
I am.
What is the content of this tirade?
The content of this is okay. That is there are things here that WY didn't tell us about, and I think what some of them are, and you've endangered one of the crew, and if she dies, this is on you, and just this whole torrent, and all these words that Marines know much better than I do.
Okay, well, you automatically reduce stress by 1, just for nothing, and then you roll a d6 to see what the consequence of this is.
And what is this under?
This is on Seek Relief.
Seek Relief. There it is.
Yeah, if you verbally or physically abuse someone.
All right, so I want a 6. Which these dice do I think is going to grant me a 6? I'm going to roll the nice green die. It's been a 6 before, but it's only a 3 this time.
3. Your inadequacy is clear to everyone. The other person pities you and you are ashamed. You cannot use your expertise until stress goes up again. So that little drop down next to expertise, you drop it down, it says not available. So you will not have access to the orange dice until such time as stress goes up again. But stress went down, so everything's good. Mason just kind of stops you dead and says, "Don't you fucking talk to me like that, you jumped up fucking corporal," and really comes back at you. Frank, what do you do when you see this kind of confrontation?
Again, maybe it's my Midwest roots, but Frank might just stay out of that. Like, that's just a fuck show. Like, I think, like, Frank probably agrees. Like, yeah, what the fuck is going on here? But I don't know if Frank knows thinks it's maybe their place in this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he would jump in on this and be like one side or the other, but I think he's probably thinking more that Thorn's right? Like, yeah, this is
Well,
fucked.
also,
Like,
yeah, it's kind of Thorn's job to be the advocate on
right.
behalf of everybody else. So Thorn is incredibly angry that Yasmin was put in danger, not by the things we were sent to investigate. Okay, you know, if somebody had taken a
Right.
shot at her, that would be one thing, but by something that nobody told us about.
Right. Yeah, maybe Frank's coming around on the conspiracy a little bit too. Like, yeah, like, putting together some dots in that thick brain of his.
This is what we love. But Homan comes up to you, Frank, and says, can we just have a conversation for a moment, Mr. Jensen?
Yeah,
Because this
sure.
is just, too much. And she kind of walks you up towards the bridge and says, I think I need to get a message to head office. Can you connect up whatever you need to connect up so I can talk to them? I'm about to burn some stress because this is burn some danger because this is vaguely suspicious. Particularly
Yeah, I was
when
gonna say,
if
is
you're
this
prepared to
something
do
that?
this, she then asks you to leave the room.
Hmm. Ooh. So yeah, can I agree and then like
And
stand
not agree?
outside? Right. Yeah. Right. Like, yeah. All right. Cool. But yeah. But I definitely would want to try to overhear. Yeah.
Fine,
Yeah.
fine. I think this is probably avoiding her detection. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get the grey dice. Do you have any expertise that you think would give you access to the expertise dice?
Observation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
observation.
Yeah. Observation, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have the stress dice if you'd like it.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
stress goes up, the likelihood of, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We're doing it.
Oh, a 6, but it's not even on the stress dice. That's brilliant. So
Nice.
on a 6, you succeed brilliantly. The GM will agree with you what extra benefit you get, but also say what freaks you out or highlights potential danger, roll for stress, mark intel. Mark intel if you do anything else. What is it
Yep.
she says that scares the shit out of you, Frank?
I suppose either that the other team has been exposed or that the crew has been compromised by the thing, right? The xenomorph, right? Like, so either she's tied to the people or the aliens.
I think that this is probably what you're getting, I think, actually is a repeat on a screen because most of the communications in alien movies is at the keyboard. So I think that yes, I think that what you see on the repeat is Homan to Weyland-Yutani. Sample appears to have been recovered. Stop. Okay. That's suspicious. That's really
Very.
suspicious. I think that's really suspicious. But that is why you are going to have to roll for stress because
Yes.
the 6 gave you so much benefit.
And don't forget to mark intel.
I did that. Yep. So now I roll for stress, which is a
You get a
4.
stress.
Yep.
Yep, up it goes.
Look at all
So
that intel.
now,
You know so much.
Puckett, I need to ask, do we cut to the point where the face hugger comes off and you're fine, just a bit hungry? Or do you want to come up with another character using one of the other crew?
I'm gonna toss that back to you with a question of your own, with a question of my own. Do you want to finish the session with the chest burster coming out?
Yeah, kind of do.
Because I kind of feel like that's the obvious thing for you to do as a GM.
Yeah.
I mean, we know I'm going to have to come up with another character. It's just a matter of when.
When, yeah. So let's continue with Yasmin. And you know, everyone's up in you know, in the mess, you know, lots of kind of head scratching. Frank's looking suspiciously at home. And do you do anything with the information you've picked up, Frank?
Not immediately. I think I'm gonna angle for a time to probably pull Thorn for that.
Fine. Um, and then Tethys, you know, walks up, and you can hear Tethys talking before they come into the room. Uh, you know, so life signs are fine, everything's fine. Okay, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. She's fine as she emerges
Fine, that
as
gross
Tethys.
thing shoved something down my throat. It's disgusting.
Yeah, yeah, look, she's fine. She checks out. It's fine, but hungry.
Jesus. You've got a
It's
fucked up
Yasmin.
definition of fine, Tethys.
Look, you
Yasmin,
know,
you threw it.
whatever that was, I put it in a bottle. It's in the freezer. You know, it just, I don't know. It's just weird shit. There's weird shit out here, but it's interesting weird shit, you know? I mean, that whole corrosive body fluid thing, that's weird. And yet you're fine. That's remarkable. I think maybe it needs to feed or something. I don't know. Maybe that's why you're hungry. I don't know.
Tethys, if you think it's so fine, go find one of those things, have it attach itself to your face, and we'll talk, okay? Because
Yeah, yeah, fine, fine. No, but you know, you're fine. You check out. You really do check out. It's great.
Yasmin, you scared the hell out of me. Are you sure she's okay?
I've done all the tests, says Tethys. She's fine. She's just fine.
I'm not fine.
What
My
was
aim's shit.
what is that thing? There's
I
more
don't
than
know,
one.
but
There's more than one down there.
there's more than
Wait,
one,
what?
says Tethys.
Yeah, at least there was another. I don't know.
And I saw that thing kind of like open up at the top, like, you know, these little four things came out and it was sticky and gooey. But Tethys, if you think I'm so fucking fine, why don't you go down there and find the one that Thorn's talking about and you can see how much you like it.
Tethys looks at the
Yeah,
captain as if to say, "Can I?"
there, there's an
Um,
yeah. There's at least one other, whatever that was, down
um,
there, but it wasn't open.
but now I'm going to burn one of my danger, because one of the ways I can burn danger is to declare that NPC begins to fit. Yasmin, what's the first sign that something bad is happening inside you? You know, indigestion or maybe something, I don't know.
Vomiting.
You know, but it's not her last meal. It's a kind of slimy goo that she just throws up onto the table.
There's probably a bit of blood in it as well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and it says declare the NPC begins to fit. They have previously been infected. Chest burster. Um, and and then you know we're down to what do you do, Thorn? Frank? Frank, what do you do? I'm just curious.
What the fuck? Probably. Oh man. I mean, I try to think about like what that would actually feel like, and it's just like the. I mean, it's just the scene from Alien, right? Like standing up from the
Yeah,
table and pushing yourself back and being like, "What the fuck is going on? What is that?" I don't know if maybe I don't even know if Frank says anything. I think Frank might just be like shock and awe at this point. Like, what gross? Like, what? I don't understand. Like, this is terrible.
Thorn?
uh, I mean, since I don't know what's going on, just stand up and back away from the table
Mm.
and
And then
staring in horror.
If I may,
Yasmin?
I'd like my last words to be, I look at Thorn and say, Thorn, help.
Everyone rolls for stress. Thorn?
All right, here we go. Yes.
Stress goes up by 1. Frank, roll for stress. Pick a dice that likes you.
Or hates you less.
Stress doesn't go up.
Stress is all right.
Just shock. But now we need to know, what does the chest burster do? So I think, Yasmin, I'll put this one on you. Roll a d6.
Please tell me to tax Tethys. That's a 5.
5. 3+. It shrieks and is gone before you recover from the shock. Disappears into the nearest grating or vent. And that is probably, I think, where, thank you, Puckett, for that, where we finish episode 1. With everyone just standing round and Yasmin laid out on the mess table with her chest exploded.
Hell yeah.
Let's have a quick stars and wishes, shall we? Anything you want to see next time? Let's start with wishes.
Wishes.
It
It depends on what the
Puckett,
meaning of want is.
Puckett, I'm going to start with you because, what do you want? Have you got any idea about which of the NPCs you'd like to pick up and create a character for?
My gut check is probably Patsy.
Oh, yeah, Patsy. Yeah, Patsy is
The
still, in
empathetic.
theory. Yeah. Well, yeah, I won't hold you to that. We'll have that conversation at the start next time. But any wishes for session 2?
Wishes? Maybe have a character that lasts long enough to get to the next 2-shot.
Someone
You'll notice
survives.
a long maybe. So yeah, somebody surviving, who's not a company stooge would be
Nice.
2 wishes. I want to see somebody surviving, and I want to see Homan eat a bullet.
Okay. What about you, Brandon? Any wishes?
More of the same, I guess. This is the trajectory is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, almost without trying.
Yeah, it's like I cringed at Puckett's die rolls, and yet it's for a 2-shot. It's exactly right.
Casey, any wishes for next time?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat as Brandon or whatever. This is all been awesome. So yeah, just more of the same is cool.
Then stars. So, Casey, I don't know how familiar you are with stars and wishes. This is an opportunity just to, credit anything that stood out for you. But I'll go around in the same order. Puckett, any stars?
Tons of stars. I loved Thorn's rage and anger, and it started with annoyance, and then graduated to anger, and I cannot wait to see Thorn completely lose the top of the nuclear stack when we start the next session. Casey, I want to see some more of Frank. I don't feel like we got that much about who Frank is as a character this time around. Like, when Homan asked you to kind of like pulled you aside and asked you to set up comms, I kind of would like to see you say something like, "What's in it for me?" Like really play up that debt angle. Like I owe money. I know that I owe money. You want something, you're obviously trying to keep it from other people. So what do you give me for it?
Right.
So I kind of see that.
The cynic in me thinks that Frank's just setting up ready for the blackmail offer, but that's just the big nice guy. Whoa.
Yeah, but we've heard Frank described over and over and over as thick. That sounds like somebody who's going to go for the short-term gain over the long-term plan. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. And Alan, a star for you, because I am glad that I'm glad you made the GM choices you did, because it gave us the perfect ending for the first of 2 sessions. Because now everybody can just be shit scared about everything. And it's like, what the hell was that? We need all the guns we can find, all the weapons we can find. Oh my God, where the hell are the guns? You know, Captain's gun, that's not going to be enough. So I'm glad I found that pulse rifle and gave it to Thorn, because I'm sure Thorn is going to know where to stick it.
Brandon, any stars?
Yeah, no, I mean, I loved everyone characterizations. I too want to see more of Frank. But the Alan, the theme and the pacing here are excellent, and yeah, our dice helped. But but the framing of this whole thing, it was I felt that there was just the right amount of a little bit of wind up and then straight into the trouble, which is what it should be.
Great.
For a movie like this.
Casey, yeah, because I mean we are pitching for the soon to be arriving TV serial, aren't we? So Casey, any stars?
Yeah, stars all around. Yeah, Alan, this is great. This is super great. Especially like having no familiarity with like even the game or any like thing that it's descended from. So like yeah, you just did a really good job of walking me specifically and everybody else whatever through it. And yeah, it's all been awesome. Yeah, Brandon, I think the last time we played your dice were cold too. But that's
Yes.
but that's been great. No, and it's just been yeah, it's great. Yeah. No, I'm like definitely gonna go watch Alien now for sure. And yeah, Puckett, like you're right, like spending the stress dice and like driving your character like it's stolen is something I gotta like lean more into, not only in like the mechanical way, but also just like in general characterization, right? Like doing things, making bold choices. Yeah, so that maybe that's a wish for myself to get a little bit more involved or yeah.
My stars, yeah, we see I quite like the quiet man. I quite like Frank kind of lurking, this big guy in the background. That the audience is now expecting something to happen to, or he is going to do something, because he's a big guy. I don't know, we're going to see him wrestling with an alien. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to that with his protective gear on. Um, I think Brandon Thorn, yeah, I'd endorse what Puckett said. This kind of simmering discontent that kind of just exploded there at the end, and got rid of a point of stress. Well, what do you want, blood? And Puckett, thank you. I mean, you said GM choices. Thank you for opening the box, the kind of meta box on. Well, wouldn't it be good to finish this with a chest burster, this session one? And I think you're absolutely right. But I'm glad that you came to the same decision that I'd hoped you would. But then we share a brain sometimes, don't we? So that's great.
You were looking at side chat, weren't you?
Was I?
Look at what
Oh
happened
gosh!
before.
Oh no, that is odd.
LOL.
That is odd. Not Alan and I sharing the same. Oh, that's weird. Maybe. Whoa. No, stuff's going on now. I'm going to go to bed and lock the door.
Yeah, like same 4 words, basically 5 words.
Yeah, that was wild.
That's odd. So we are done. We're exactly on time. I'm going to stop the recording there.